Hi everybody. We are going to try something today that is a review for some of you. And if you are someone who is very confident at doing long division on paper already, but is used to putting the R for a remainder and feels like you're ready for something new, you could try this. If you aren't used to doing long division, things that look like this, entirely on paper yet, this is not a work that you are ready for yet. It's one you want to stick on doing in the classroom with materials. If you are, let's go for it. So here's our question. This says 4,293 divided by 4. And we're going to do something new today. If this answer would have had a remainder, we are going to say no remainder allowed and find a way to keep sharing until it becomes fair. And that means we're going to have to share into decimal fractions. People might get half of something or a third of something or even less. So let's make a story because a story helps math make sense. Let's say we have 4 bears and you are trying to tame these bears. So you go and get a ton of fish and you want to share the fish with the bears. But if there's any fish left lying on the ground, if there would have been a remainder, those bears are just going to fight. So we've got to make sure if there's leftovers, we cut them up into fractions of fish. So 4,293 fish. I'm going to draw a tiny fish. Shared out to 4 bears. And I'm going to draw a tiny bear because I like putting art on my math sometimes. There we go. All right, let's get going. 4 goes into 4 one time. 4 times 1 is 4. We used up exactly what we needed. 4 minus 4 is 0. If you're feeling confused by what I'm doing right now, go watch the video of long division reminder and do that first. Get back comfortable with this before you start with the no remainders allowed business. Let's keep going. Bring down our 2, our hundreds place. 4 goes into 2, 0 times. 4 times 0 is 0. We didn't use up any because we couldn't share that out. 2 minus 0 is 2. Bring down our tens place. Now we have 29. 4 goes into 29 how many times? Let's count by 4s. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32. 32 is too far, so take it back. We shared out 28. And it took us 7 times. So 28 is what we shared out. They each got 7. 7 times 4 is 28. Yep, we're still good. Let's keep on going. 29 minus 28 is 1. Bring down our next section. 13. 4 goes into 13 how many times? Count by 4s. 4, 8, 12, 16. 16 is too much, so take it back. They each get 3, and we used up 12. They each get 3, and we used up 12. 3 times 4 is 12. 13 minus 12 is 1. This is the place where we would normally put R1 up here. We would normally say there is 1 left over. We can start to tell our story right now. We can say if you have 4,293 fish and 4 bears and you want to share it out evenly, every bear will get 1,073, but there will be 1 fish left over. So let's pause. We're going to pause this part of the math and we're just going to use our brains and some doodles to think about it. If we have 4 bears, let's get ourselves 4 little bears. 1 bear, 2 bears, 3 bears, 4 bears. And we have 1 fish. I'm just going to make it a blob fish this time. Put it right here. Oh no, we're going to run out of room. I'll put it down here. How can we share that fish evenly? If you've worked with fractions, your brain is probably saying, well, they can each have 1/4 of the fish. This one would get 1/4. 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 So we kind of already know the answer. Each bear is going to get 1,073 and 1/4 fish. But let's see how to do it using the long division work on the paper instead of like this. Although this way works too. Sometimes you'll have a question where it's not so obvious. So we're going to work with this. What we do is we remember that the number 4,293 also has 0 tenths. They just aren't any. We could write it though. When we put this decimal point, this becomes the tenths. I could put another 0 here and say it has 0 hundredths. Fancy that. It has 0 hundredths. Oh, look, it also has 0 thousandths and 0 ten thousandths. It can go on forever. It has 0 of all of those things. We can use this to help us make sure we don't have a remainder. So let's bring down the 0 of our tenths. How many times does 4 go into 10? 4, 8, 12. 12 is too much. Take it back. It goes in 2 times, and we use up 8. Now, when you put the decimal point here, you also need to put it right here. Otherwise, you're going to change your answer. It's going to end up weird. Each got 2. 2 times 4 is 8. That's what we used up. 10 divided by 8, or minus 8, is 2. We still would have a remainder, so we can't stop. We must not stop, because no remainders are allowed. All right, we bring down another 0. We bring down our thousandths category. We can do this all day, as long as we need, until we get an answer with no remainder. 4 goes into 20 how many times? 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Oh, thank goodness, it's perfect. They went in 5 times. We put a 5 here. We used up 20. 20 minus 20 is 0. We almost bumped into our bears, but we got a 0, which means we can stop. We can ignore these guys. And normally I wouldn't write them. I would only put a 0 each time I needed it. So let's just scribble this out. Let's check. 1,073 and 25 hundredths, or how some people would say it is 0.25. Well, let's check. Is it making sense? Is 25 hundredths the same thing as 1/4? Hopefully you've practiced this work and know that it is. But if you didn't, let's think about it. 25 hundredths. Well, if it was equal to 1/4, then if I added 25 hundredths up 4 times, 1/4, another fourth, another fourth, another fourth, then it would be 4 fourths, and it would equal exactly 1, because we know that 4 fourths is the same as a whole. So let's just do that test to see. Let's see, 25 hundredths times 4. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 more is 10. Put down our decimal point. Oh, good, we got 1. So if you weren't sure if 0.25, if 25 hundredths was equal to 1/4, you could do this to check on it. Here we go. No remainder allowed. When those bears got fed, each of them got 1,073.25 fish. 1,073 and 25 hundredths, or 1,073 and a fourth. All of those 3 things I just said mean exactly the same thing. There are just more than one way to say things in numbers. Let's try one more together. If you feel like you've got this, go ahead and write this question down on your page, press pause, and come back when you think you have the answer. If not, let's keep working together. Alrighty. 5 goes into 1 0 times. Remember, we don't have to write the 0 if it's in the first place, but I like to make myself a little line just to show that there was nothing there. All right, let's look at a bigger section now. 5 goes into 11. Oh, 5s are nice. 5, 10. 15 is too much, so 10. 2 times. 5 times 2 is 10. 11 minus 10 is 1. And we're ready to move on to the next step. Isn't it nice when you get something that you really know how to count by? This, by the way, is a reason that if you don't know how to count by everything, you should practice. Because if you get to the point where you know how to count by 7s and 8s just as fast as you can count by 5s, then all of your work is going to look like how happy you feel when you see a 5 out here. Let's bring down our 8. 5 goes into 18. How many times? 5, 10, 15, 20. 20's too much. Take it back. 15 got shared out, and it goes in 3 times. 1, 2, 3. 5 times 3 is 15. That's what we shared. 18 minus 15. 8 minus 5 is 3. 1 minus 1 is 0. All right, bring down our next step. 5 goes into 39. Well, if we know our divisibility rules, we know that 5 is not going to fit evenly into 39. because 5 only fits evenly into numbers that end with a 0 or a 5. But let's figure out how much we can share before we have to stop. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Oops, too much. Take it back. 7 times gets us to 35. 5 times 7 is 35. We used up 35. 39 minus 35 is 4. We've got a remainder, but remainders are not allowed. So we're going to put in our decimal point. So far, we shared out 237, but now we're going to share out a decimal fraction. We're going to share a wee bit more so that it is really, really fair. So here's our tenths. Bring down our tenths, and now it looks like 40. 5 goes into 40. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. 8 times, and it's even. Beautiful. So we put an 8 right here. 5 times 8 is 40. 40 minus 40 is 0. As soon as you get the 0 here, you're done. If you don't get a 0 here, remember you put another 0 here, bring it in, and keep on going till you get a 0. Every once in a while, you'll get an impossible one where it will just keep going, and then you can just choose to stop. All right, check this out. We didn't make a story. I'm going to make one right now. There are 5 friends who decide that they are going to eat an irrational amount of pizza. So they buy 1,189 pizzas to share out to the 5 people. Each of them gets 237 and 8 tenths. So when we got to the last 4 pizzas at the end, we had to start breaking them up. When we broke them up, it ended up that each person got 8 tenths. They almost got a whole nother pizza, but not quite. All right, if you're feeling a little confused on this, feel free to let me know and we can make a plan to work on it together. If you're feeling good, then go do some math and have a wonderful day. I miss you all, and I cannot wait till I get to see you again in person soon. Bye, everyone.